morning. Welcome to Web of Stories. My name is Melinda, and I am here with my weekly wrap-up. I have a guess this is going to be a shorter one for reasons that I will explain, which is always a delight when my videos end up being shorter. I understand that. Anyway, this has been a very busy week for us. The kids are back in school. One thing I've noticed is you would think like as your kids get older, your mornings would be less hectic. They're now more hectic. My son walks to and from school. The elementary school and the middle school, they're right next to each other, are just kind of like 2 blocks away from us, and it's right through the neighborhood. Now for high school where my daughter is, the sort of standard is if you live within a mile of the school, you can't get bus service, and we live within a mile. However, the walk to the school is not, it for the most part is not pleasant, and then that last little part is also not pleasant, but also very unsafe. So I have to drive her. I take back every negative thing I have ever said about a school pickup or drop-off line because the high school one takes the cake. Oh my goodness. Anyway, so in the mornings, I'm having to kind of get them both kind of going, and you know, it's just hectic, but it's all good. School's going well for both of them. Yeah. So a couple kind of bookish, unrelated things. Earlier in the summer, midsummer, when I was getting books, my banned books ready to send out. I did a short because I had a question. I had gotten a copy of the absolutely true diary of a part-time Indian by Sherman Alexie. And I was like, I'm conflicted about this because it's a great book, but the author is very problematic and blah, blah, blah. And I asked for advice, and I listened to what everyone said, and I ultimately decided not to send it out with the banned books, but I gave it to my daughter to read. So I gave it to my daughter to read because it is a great book. The author is very problematic, but she's at an age where I can explain to the author, separate the author from the work. It's fine. So I gave it to her, and she's like, "Thanks, Mom," and it went into her room. And I don't know where it is. I don't think she knows where it is either. So apparently I am not able to make her read it. However, saw her syllabus for her English class. Her English teacher is going to be able to make her read it. It is the novel that they're going to use for their novel study this year. So in case anyone's wondering, the author may be problematic, but they're still teaching the book in school. The book is excellent. I mean, this is one of those things, like the book is excellent. And before everything came out about the author, I was saying, this is a book I'm going to force my kids to read, which clearly I can't, but I don't have to now. So it's interesting how that all worked out. I just wanted to kind of close the loop on it. The second thing is, I know it's September. A lot of people are doing short story September. I am doing a slightly different version of it. I am taking my lead from Angelia at Read and Reread, and I'm doing short story September. So I am reading 30 short stories in 30 days. And my initial plan was to do my update with my weekly update, my short story update with my weekly update. And then Angelia yesterday did one and said, well, that would be too long. And I'm like, she's probably right. So I am filming this on Friday. This video will go out on Saturday. But after I film this one, I'm going to do my short story update, which will go out later today if all goes well. So time is going to be different. So yeah, that's kind of a confusing thing that's going on. But anyway, the other reason why this is a lot of my reading I'm not going to talk about in this particular video, but you can look back and see it because even though I haven't filmed it yet, it will be in the past as you watch it. YouTube time. The other reason why this is going to be a short update is because I only finished 2 things this week. And that's fine. I mean, I'm starting a bunch of stuff, and there's a reading. We'll go into what I'm currently reading and why I only finished 2 things. So the first one is one, I'm going to mention it here, but I'm going to talk about it more in depth in that other video because it is a standalone short story that was released through Amazon. It's an Amazon single or Kindle single. So it is its own book, but it's a short story. And that's the Werewolf by Alma Katsu. I heard about this on the Book Cougars podcast from Chris Wallach. She had read it, and it sounded awesome. So I wanted to read it, and it was awesome. And if you want to know why it's awesome, go find that other video. The other one I finished, which of course I forgot my copy, it's over on the shelf. Oh well. Is 3-Act Tragedy by Agatha Christie. So this is a Poirot novel. It's a really easy read. I did like let's see, I did a quick little thing on it, and I said, you know what, it's not a memorable mystery, but it was fun to read. The Poirot that comes before this one, and the Christie that I read before this, was Murder on the Orient Express, which is one of her big ones, and it was one I was surprisingly let down by. I understand why it makes great adaptations, but as a novel, I found it really dull. So go see the movie. There's various movies you can go see. Anyway, this one I liked because it was a return to the old Poirot. We had Poirot charm and a little Poirot humor, even though Poirot was kind of missing for a big chunk of it. The way he comes in is all added up. It's just fine. The mystery itself is, I mean, it was delightful. The mystery itself is whatever, but I enjoyed it. I watched the adaptation that's in the Poirot series with David Suchet last night, which is actually probably the most faithful to the book that I have seen in a long time. The only really big difference is there's a character who's kind of a major character in the book, even though he's really easily taken out, clearly, because they really easily took him out. And that's Mr. Satterthwaite is not in the adaptation. He doesn't need to be. He doesn't really do anything in the book except be there. But he's not in there. But it was actually a really good adaptation. And it's from one of the later seasons of Poirot when it was an American produced show. So it's a little darker in tone. My husband sat for the first 5 minutes going, I feel like the pace is different. I feel like the pace is different. Finally, I told him just be quiet because whatever. And then he went up and watched something else, which is fine. I would have liked to watch it with him, but I wasn't going to hear anything because he wouldn't be quiet about his perception that the pace was different. But it was very enjoyable. It's definitely not, it's going to be one of those where I have to kind of think, okay, what happened in that one? But it was a nice experience. So those were the 2 books that I finished this week. Now, in my last update, I said I only had 1 book going. Woo. That's out the window. If you look at my Goodreads or my story graph, it looks like I have 10 books going. 5 of those are short story collections. They're right here. I will see, you can see them in the other video. So as far as outside of the short story September, I'm only reading 5 books, which is more books than I want to read. And there's reasons for that. So the first book that I am reading, I guess got this from the library, is Clytemnestra by Costanza Casati. I heard wonderful things about this. This is my debut Greek mythology retelling. This is the first time I have read Greek mythology or Greek mythology retelling. I have quite a few other Greek mythology retellings. I just haven't read them yet. This is the first one I've read. I have to read it now because it's from the library. I'm not that far into it, but I'm enjoying it. It's about obviously it's about Clytemnestra. I don't know. I'm not someone who goes in with a lot of knowledge about Greek mythology, but I can always ask my daughter, who is a walking Greek mythology encyclopedia. So after that, I am still listening to Tom Lake. I'm doing about a chapter a day. So it's going to take me a while. I'm like 60% through. That's fine. I'm enjoying it. It is delightful, as pretty much anyone will tell you. And then I have 3 ebooks going, none of which are NetGalleys, but let me explain. This Saturday, I have my Marginalized Book Club. And on this Sunday, I have a Book Cougars discussion. I had got it in my head that this Saturday with my Marginalized Authors discussion was a meeting where we were discussing a book. And it's not. It's a meeting. It's our literary society meeting where we just talk about what we're reading. But because I thought we were reading a book, I was trying to cram that book in. So I've read about a little over half of Olga Dies Dreaming. And then I realized that I had a whole other month to read it, so I put it aside so I could read Hester, which I have to have read by Sunday for Book Cougar. So let me break that down a bit. Let me start with Hester. I am so close to being done with it. And if yesterday were not opening day of the NFL, and here comes garbage truck if you hear things, and if I hadn't watched 3-Act Tragedy, I would have finished it yesterday. It will be finished by the time you see this video. It is imagining of sort of Hawthorne's inspiration for writing the Scarlet Letter. So the Scarlet Letter is big this year because it's Scarlet Summer for the book cougars. And as you know, I love the Scarlet Letter. As you also know, this is the second sort of book like that I've read. The first one was The Invisible Hour. It's interesting to kind of look at those two together. I have my thoughts on it so far. They may change after the book cougars discussion, but I'm enjoying this one. Yeah, I'm enjoying this one. I think I still enjoyed The Invisible Hour more, although I can't really compare because The Invisible Hour is very magical. This is very historical, but as I said, I have a little bit more to go, so I don't want to say anything definitive about it. There you go. So now back to Olga Dies Dreaming. I will tell you, this is for my marginalized book club, and we aren't discussing it until October. I think I'm like 60% of the way through. I am struggling a bit with this. There's really two stories going on. There's like Olga's story, and then there's her brother's story. And I gotta be honest, I'm not that interested in her brother's story. So right there is a bit of a struggle. I do feel like this book assumes you have a lot of knowledge about Puerto Rican history. And you know what? I probably should have a lot of knowledge about Puerto Rican history. It's part of the United States. It's a United States territory. Puerto Ricans are U.S. citizens. They are a sizable group within the continental United States. Maybe not in Oregon because we're on the West Coast, but on the East Coast, Puerto Ricans are a sizable group. So I recognize that I should know more about Puerto Rican history. I kind of feel like I'm behind the 8 ball on this one because they're referring to things that I don't know. So we'll see how it goes. I still have roughly a little less than half to read it. It might turn around. I would probably get back to it today or tomorrow, definitely, because I will have finished Hester. So I have those two. And then I have the book for my library book club for October. So I actually have the print book of this waiting for me at the library, but the library was doing this flash sale on Libby. I don't know how you can put library books that you check out on sale, but anyway, that they had a whole list of books from Pacific Northwest authors that were immediately available. Apparently they had unlimited license access for this period of time. And Tightrope was one of them. So I just picked it up so I could get it started. So Tightrope is written by Nicolas, Kristof, and I want to say Sheryl Wudnn. They're married in real life. Nicolas Kristof was born and raised in Oregon. He was actually born Cove Orchard, which is where this takes place, is like maybe 40 minutes from me. So he was there. He has since gone to the East Coast, and I believe he's a columnist for the New York Times. New York Times or Washington Post, one of them. In 2022, when we had our gubernatorial race and we didn't have an incumbent running, he tried to run for governor in our state. He had to be taken off the ballot because he didn't meet the residency requirements, but he does have a real interest in this area. And I do believe that he has moved back to this area. I think he's retired from whatever periodical he was with before, and I think he has moved back to the area. So it's very local, and you know I do like to read local. It's very eye-opening. I have thoughts, and I haven't gotten that far into it, but it's a hard read, and it's, you know, a lot about poverty in America, which is always hard to read, but now it's poverty in America that's basically in my backyard, which is shocking. So I can't say much about it yet. I am reading like 5% of it a day just to kind of keep me going until my book club. So I've got some time to read it. I am not rushing through it. So those are the 5 books, minus the short stories that I am currently reading. There you go. Hopefully I will have fewer books, next week, at least not including the short stories, because I don't like having 3 ebooks going. And I really didn't like having to put Olga Dies Dreaming halfway through, but I had to get Hester done. So, I mean, it's good that this happened because now I have more time, but, you know, I don't like doing that. But you do what you can. So, there you go. So, thank you very much for going through this with me. Please give my video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.